very difficult to get rid of it. I get around the reflection on my glasses.
Oh yeah, from the screen.
We're one, but we're not the same. We get to carry each other.
Hello again, everyone. Sorry about that. Had some technical issues. I'm Sarah Haskett, and we're here for the Chit-Chat Cafe. And I've got Carolyn Barber with me and Janet Ayres, and we're going to be talking today about her art course. But first of all, let me get Carolyn to introduce the session today in more detail.
Okay, thanks, Sarah. It's IT problems. There is a bit of a contemporary nightmare, isn't it? Okay. So we're doing these Chit-Chat Cafe sessions to let you know more about our Mental Wealth Academy online program. And we've got quite a few courses have already started, but it's not too late to join up to them. So if you want to go on the website, have a look at the courses that are there. You can catch up with recordings and exercises to do in your own time. But obviously, it's great to be able to start with a course. And so Janet is starting her art and wellbeing course this coming Friday. We've invited her along to chat about it and let you know what's involved and see if you'd like to join in. So Janet, hello.
Hello.
You're best known locally for singing and music. Obviously, quite a few bands that you're involved with, local choirs, all sorts of.
All sorts.
All sorts, yeah. But you're not so well known about the kind of art and well-being side. So I just wondered if you want to talk a bit about how you got into that side of things.
Yeah. Well, actually, art was my thing at school. Music was as well. But I was lucky enough at the school that I grew up in the London Borough, that they had a thing on a Saturday morning. And that's really where I got into music. So it was outside of my sort of formal education, which I think suited me. So I learnt the violin and played in orchestras and in choirs and stuff. But I never thought I'd be doing any of that for a job at all, ever. So it's funny how things turn out. So in school, it was art and theatre. Really, that was my what I ended up doing my A-levels in. So art was my thing. And then I did illustration at Portsmouth University at the Art College. Just at the point when it was changing from the art college to the university, so that might give you an idea when that was. I loved it. It was brilliant, really, really good. And I sort of went on to do some work in publishing, not really using my artwork, but some of my experience using computers and Macs meant that I could sort of go into that. And really, that's sort of where it's been. And then I've just done courses and things like that. Printmaking is the thing that I've really got into since graduating all those years ago. I have found myself doing art courses here and there for different organisations, but music's definitely been the thing that I've been doing the last 15 years. So actually, with the lockdown and not being able to run choirs, art seems to have just gone hello again. And I've had the chance for me to actually get into doing some art. So, and really this is how this has come about, really. So it's a good opportunity to get other people drawing.
Ooh.
Nice.
You have run a group called the Mind's Eye. Is
Mind's
that right?
Eye, that's right. Yeah, at Fratton
For
Community Centre.
quite a while.
We did it for a couple of years. We actually took it on from Julian Harrow, who'd been running it for years, and he had run lots of art for mental health well-being for years in Portsmouth. Even when they had the art centre on Reginald Road, that was where he started a lot of the art courses. So for the last sort of 20, 25 years, there's been those classes. So the last one was at Fratton Community Centre. But with most things, the funding ran out, and it was very difficult for participants to pay enough to keep it going, really. But it was great. It was a really good way to sort of create a nice space for people to come on 2 hours in the morning or 2 hours in the afternoon, and start to just have some time and space to sit and do whatever art it was they wanted to do. And it was really, people really appreciated it, and it was sometimes the highlight of their week to come and do that. So we had to stop that a couple of years ago. But then at the beginning of lockdown, I contacted Julian and Judy, because they both used to run it. Should we just carry it on our own on Zoom on a Tuesday morning?
Oh, that's
And
nice.
and another friend, we were like, this might as well. So we've been doing that on our own. We've
Oh,
resurrected
right.
the art group, and it made me do something every week, which I haven't been doing for years. People might think, oh, well, you can draw, you probably do it all the time, but actually, you need the time and the commitment. And what I find myself, I need a group to go to and spend the time, even though you're all doing your own thing. It's a really nice environment to do something.
Mm. I must admit, I find that I like to. If you're signed up to something on a regular basis, it's something about external expectations, isn't there? Or kind of the linking in,
Yeah.
and even like you say, you're just doing your own thing, perhaps, but you're connecting up with other people.
Yeah. And that you can then give each other feedback and things. And some people in the groups that we didn't necessarily want any, but you were there in case somebody would think, well, how would you do this? Or what do you reckon on that? And then all the other conversations that happen while you're doing art, which have nothing to do with art. So actually, it was a really nice sort of way to sort of build trust in a group. You've got shared activity and all the things that sort of come from that, really. So, yeah.
It definitely makes a difference when you've got people to connect with. We can one can do art at any time, obviously, but when you're actually coming together to be creative, even if it's an individual process, you're doing that in a group. That's different, isn't it? It's got a
It
different
is.
feel.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think there's so much importance in that. There's some kind of connection that you get from that, and I was thinking the other day, I just can't imagine what it would have been like going through a pandemic before the internet. You know, we've relied so much on being able to do this kind of thing, and all like these types of groups, they're all sort of tapping into creative ways of carrying on. Just how would that have been like? Back in the early 1900s or something. But
Yeah, I know. I just, well, so much about life was so different when it was the Spanish flu.
yeah,
Um, People weren't chomping at the bit to go back to restaurants because people didn't go out and eat anyway.
that's
But
true.
when it came to the end of it, so our experiences of what it is we feel like we can't do. So perhaps people were a bit more resourceful with their time. Maybe it was a bit easier to do that. But I do think we are quite social animals, really, and that's a good thing, because we know the benefits of it, really. So yeah, no, but it's been brilliant, and I think the big thing is
Tonight.
Sorry, I was just checking Facebook while you were talking.
the music.
Apologies. Please do
That's all
carry
right.
on.
There's music everywhere. Um, but it's not really just a stopgap. Using Zoom and things like that, it's not just going, oh, well, we'll just do this for a bit until we can get back to normal. It's actually, we're still doing things, and you can still develop things and learn new things.
Yeah.
And the meaning of what you do is still important,
Yeah.
and it's still very real.
Yes, yeah, and it's been a massive learning curve, hasn't it, for all of us as well, learning all this technology kind of really quickly. I think somebody
Yeah,
said it was like the next 5 years of development has kind of been concentrated into 5 months. It's,
yeah.
so yeah. So
Yeah,
do you
that's
want to
true.
tell us a little bit about what you're planning for this course, Janet?
Well, the best the best approach for anything creative is to keep it simple, uh, and then it gives you lots of scope to make it really complicated for yourself. I find so. So really, it's about drawing, and it's about observational drawing, looking at the world around us. So not necessarily copying two-dimensional images that have already been created, which is a good thing, a practice to do, but it is about sort of connecting with our own environment. And it is about drawing. And because I was trying to think of things that we could do where perhaps if you didn't have any traditional art materials to hand, so some A4 printing paper that you might have ready to print and a biro is probably all you need.
Mm-hmm.
And then if you've got anything else, then it's a bit of a plus. You can even do some watercolor with coffee. Water down some coffee and get a paintbrush or your finger, or there are lots of different ways of using materials that you have in the house. And it was just to sort of, and because an hour's not that long, but it is just enough for us to spend a bit of time together. So I probably will do a quick little drawing exercise in the first session. We might do something like that at the beginning of every session just to get you loosened up a little bit. And then we'll look at what it is we're going to do. So, and the idea is that we'll perhaps send out just the week before, in the week leading up to it, materials you might want to gather together. So we're sort of looking at colour and shape and the world around us. One of them is a view from the window, so we get to, look out of our window and draw what we see. And then the last thing that we do is a self-portrait. If you've got we've looked at different ways of creating images, either drawing or collage is another thing to do. So if we've got magazines and things kicking around, there's lots of colour and images and things that you can easily cut out and just create your own little scene. And you could perhaps even try and recreate that, what you see around you, using things like that. So you don't even have to have paint or crayons or pens or anything. We already have colour here. That's quite a nice blue you could cut out if you wanted to create a picture of blue sea, something like that, keeping it really, really simple. So really it's just 5 sessions just to get you thinking, getting a bit of an art head, really. And sometimes you'll think, oh no, what have I done? It looks awful. Um, and then you think, well, why does it look right? Oh, perhaps I wasn't looking enough. That's another thing. That's the thing about observational drawing. You've really got to look. You can't just think, oh yeah, that looks like that, a car looks like that, or a window looks like that. It's like, no, this particular window where you're sitting now with the light falling on it looks like this today. Tomorrow it'll probably look different if you look at a different time of day. So even familiar objects will look different depending on the time of day,
Yeah,
also how
I
you
like
feel,
that.
and what material it is you're using to describe it. So again, you don't need to sort of go out to some great vista, which actually could be a bit, you go to a beautiful, lovely scenic spot. I've done it before, and you just sit there and you're like, what's the point of me drawing this? It looks fantastic. So I quite like picking objects. The mug that you have first thing in the morning, that's a really good place to start. Really look at something really familiar and just spending a bit of time doing that, focusing on that, is really beneficial. It is a mindful practice, really.
I
Doing
was going to say that's what it was making me think of, was kind of mindfulness and that idea of really, really, really noticing and observing something close to hand, isn't it?
Yeah,
And
yeah,
and that's a very absorbing kind of activity.
yeah,
It's
yeah.
just
And the time will just go.
mm,
One memory I have is that on family holidays, I would often take my sketchbook and we'd be down in sort of Dorset on the coast, and I'd be sitting there, or Devon, and I'd take my, drawing pad and I'd be drawing, and it'd be like, come on, Janet, we've got to go home. Like, really? You've been doing that for 3 hours, have I? And it's
Nice.
just so lovely to do that, and then you can sort of see people coming along and looking, and that sort of thing. But so holidays are always a good time because you've got the time, and if you are somewhere nice, then it's like, again, something you haven't a view you've not used to. Actually, that's quite nice. But even just drawing without observation, drawing without actually doing any drawing.